When a
Uh-huh.
couple is just coming to you cold, yeah, you could still put them through your sales funnel by warming them up, right? But if you instead have them pre-warmed to begin with, they're entering your sales funnel already further down. And so there's
Yes.
less sales that needs to happen and more connection that is then happening because you're not having to sell them the same way it's.
Hey there, CEOs. My name is Brandee, and my mission is to help you to ditch the overwhelm and to build a profitable business that you love. Welcome to the Wedding Pro CEO podcast. You know who your ideal customer is, right? You have worked with some that maybe aren't so ideal. And then you have a few others that you're like, oh, if I could just copy and paste this couple, I would be so happy. But you don't know how to find them. You're not sure exactly what your marketing should be to find those ideal couples. How do you draw in the people that you love working with and that will love working with you? On today's show, I am so honored to get to have Bethel Nathan of Elevate by Bethel to talk to us all about how to create a rave-worthy experience. She is well known for the experience that she provides to her couples, and she does such a phenomenal job of warming up her leads through her website, her social media. All of her marketing is really geared toward that ideal couple so that they either say, heck yes, I have to work with this girl, or no, this isn't the right one for me. And that's okay too. That's exactly what you want your marketing to do. So if you're wondering how to find more of your ideal couples this engagement season, this episode is going to light you on fire. I promise. So let's dig right in. Bethel Nathan, I am so excited that you are on the show today. We've met through social media, but then we met in person this past summer. And I just love hearing you talk about your business. You just seem to like light up when you talk about your clients and your client experience. And some of the things you told me when we were at dinner, when we were together, I just was like, it keeps replaying in my head. I'm like, got to have her on the show because so much of what you talk about in your business really translates across all wedding pros. And so I'm so excited that you're here today. So thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to chat about all this.
Yeah, this is going to be so good. Okay, so Bethel, before we get too deep into our topic, can you just tell everybody a little bit more about where you came from, like how you got to what you're doing now?
Totally. By the way, my first website when I launched Ceremonies by Bethel 14 years ago, the About Me said, how do you get from Wall Street to doing weddings? And because it was always, people were super curious about where it even came from. But
Yes.
so I have been in the wedding world for 14 years. I am an officiant. I marry awesome, non-traditional, non-religious couples who care about the ceremony. And I am in San Diego. And so most of my range is around this Southern California area. And I was not from the wedding world. I'm not clergy. I'm none of this. And yeah, I came from a Wall Street background and a corporate background and spent 9 years working for large investment banks in Tokyo, New York, and London. And yes, I do still speak Japanese, but I came from a totally different world. And I think that helped when I decided to launch my business. I launched it as a business. So I absolutely love what I do, but I was able to bring such a different experience to doing it. So 14 years, and I've now married over 1,200 couples, which seems pretty crazy.
Wow.
And yeah, it has been a lot of fun. It really grew. And then 7 years ago, I started business coaching and speaking and doing
Okay.
education as well.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I have two questions. One, have you ever officiated a wedding in Japanese?
I have not. Whenever I meet with a Japanese American couple, I always say, does mom speak Japanese? Does grandma? Do you want to have fun surprising them? And then I throw in a line of Japanese early in the ceremony and at the end as well. And it's really fun when nobody's expecting it.
And what a unique quality. How really did you go from like, I'm on Wall Street and I'm traveling, I'm doing all these things, and then you became a wedding officiant? How did you make that transition and why?
There was actually a stage in between. I did the normal corporate thing. I went to Berkeley for undergrad. I studied political science and Japanese studies. I lived in Japan for a summer during college. I lived in Japan for a year after college. I wanted proficiency in the language before business school. I knew I was going to do international marketing, ended up international finance instead. And so came back here for my MBA in international finance and then went back. And that was the first Wall Street world. And so I was trading the market and trading derivatives, and I just did not enjoy it, but I love
Yeah.
the industry and how fast paced and super smart people. And I was working for great firms. I was at Morgan Stanley and then Goldman Sachs. And so I ended up in the training and development world of it. So leaving the trading floor behind, I ended up designing and running training programs for the final 7 years of it, both in New York and then ended up moving to London with that and doing a global role. And it just got to where I had no life. I was traveling all the
Mhm.
time. I was working all the time. My health was suffering. And I say to my husband that I didn't know him then. And I said, if we had met earlier, I probably would have stayed in it because you have that partner, which makes life easier if you have someone to come home to and to balance.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're doing it all alone. And I was just over it at that point. And I said, you know what? I'm done. I'm walking away. And it's interesting on Wall Street, everything goes in cycles, right? When
Yeah.
people are making money, everybody's happy. When the markets are difficult and people are not, other things become more important. All the politics of who's working on what projects with who. And I was
Yeah.
just done at that point. So I came back to San Diego, which is where I was from, and ended up falling into running my family's business. At that point, 20-year-old successful business. And but they had no business manager, nobody really doing the COO type role. And just fell in naturally doing that. And so I did that for about 6 years. And I said, you know what? If I left sexy, lucrative Wall Street behind because it wasn't making me totally happy, why would I ever stay in anything anymore that didn't make me totally sing? So
Yeah.
I, by that point, my brother and sister in law had asked me to officiate their wedding. As you probably know, in most states, it is very easy legally to do it. Doesn't mean that it still is the right choice. I had a background in public speaking, and then I spent about 6 months researching what a ceremony should look and feel like. And I did theirs, never intending to do it again. And then 2 years later, I had two other close friends. All of these couples were from interfaith, intercultural backgrounds. And so looking for somebody who could help really make it theirs and not from a traditional perspective. And
Okay.
at that point, when I was deciding to walk away from the business, I had now done these three and I'd gotten great comments and compliments on the third, second and third one. They're like, is this something you do? I loved listening to you speak. Do you have a congregation somewhere I could go? I'm like, oh my gosh, no, I'm a business person. And they're like, you should think about doing this. And so at that point is when I was thinking about walking away from the business. And I said, what would I do if my heart could choose? And I said, well, I would either run a philanthropy or could I marry people? Like, is that a thing? My husband's also a business person by background. And we spent a good 6, 9 months researching the wedding industry to see, is there a place for me? Somebody who was non religious, who wanted a very personal ceremony, wanted it to
Yeah.
be higher end and very couple focused. And I mean, 1,200 couples later, clearly we have our answer that there is a place for me. That's how I
So
started it.
crazy. So that makes a lot of sense, and I love that you come from that business background, and so you built your business as a business, like, it's
Yep.
not I just actually said to somebody yesterday, they said, "I know when you've built this business, it's really like your baby." I'm like, "My business is not my baby. I have 3 babies, love
Yep.
it, and I worked really hard at it, but I'm not that emotionally tied to it, like, that's not it. I built it as a business." So I love that you did that, and I think that's so important. I wanna focus on this client experience. Did you kind of fall into it because your first client was your sister, right?
My brother and sister in law.
Yeah. Is that really what made you be so involved in the client experience just because you were like, "This is so special, like, they're so close to me," and then you just kept doing it that way? Or tell me more about how you created this client experience that you're really so well known for.
It really is in some ways sort of fell into it a little bit that way. It was also the person who married us is really also took the time to create a personal ceremony for us. What I realized, and what hopefully most any officiant knows, is that even when you are a friend, you
Mhm.
cannot really know a relationship unless you're truly around them all the time. You can't truly know that relationship. So even for my brother and sister in law, they had to do homework for me. I had to, especially to make it fair to her, the one I didn't
Okay.
know as well, and the
True.
voice I hadn't heard. So I knew I worked in my family business. I heard what my brother would say after their dates or how excited he was, like, but I certainly didn't hear her perspective. And so I think that's important when you ask a friend or family member to officiate for you, they still really need to take it seriously. And it's not
Mhm.
a toast, it's not a roast. The ceremony is different. And so I really was able to go into it thoughtfully and make sure I asked them both questions. And then I did the same thing for the two friends' weddings. And at that point, I'm like, okay, if I'm going to really do this, now I need to actually create a process to do so.
Yeah.
I need to make it legit. So I really took what I had done with them and really formalized and systematized what I had them go through. And obviously made it deeper and richer once I was serious about doing this. But yeah, I really had to be very intentional about what I had my couples go through. And I've only refined it and done it since, but it still has ended up being almost the same process as I
Right.
did all those years ago.
14 years ago. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
When a client inquires with you, so many efficients are kind of run of the mill. And I don't say that in a derogatory way at all. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just,
No,
I do think
totally.
efficients are known for you come, maybe have a different reading here or there, but for the most part, it's copy paste, enter their names, sign the marriage certificate, right? So, how do you differentiate yourself? How do clients understand what your process is? Like, how do you market that?
And that's exact thank you for saying it that way because it starts well before they inquire.
Yeah.
It starts so much before that because
Yeah.
what I often will say is you have to fish with the right bait. So you have to be sure that everything that you're putting out into the world is
Mhm.
expressing that in the right way. And so it is your website. There is no doubt your website is the most important thing you could possibly have. It's the only thing you own, right? But you also need to be sure that your social media is expressing that, that any online listings you have, that the people who are talking about you, that you as a wedding planner
Mhm.
recommend officiants regularly, right? I need to be sure
Yes.
that the right planners who attract the same or similar ideal couple are knowing which couples to send my way and also knowing how to express what it is that I do. That the venues who are sending me these couples know which couples to send my way and what they're saying to prompt that. I call that
Mhm.
pre warming your leads. When a
Yeah.
couple is just coming to you cold, yeah, you could still put them through your sales funnel by warming them up, right? But if you instead have them pre-warmed to begin with, they're entering your sales funnel already further down. And so there's
Yes.
less sales that needs to happen and more connection that is then happening because you're not having to sell them the same way. It's being sure, are we on the same page and are we the right
Mhm.
fit? Your marketing is already setting a lot of those expectations. So I had my first website, you design it, you don't know who your couples are going to be, right?
Right, right.
You marry certain couples, then you're like, "Yeah, I don't they were sweet, but they're probably not my ideal. Let's not do that again." And
Yeah.
you learn and you refine it. I understand anybody who's new listening to this, it is so hard to know who your ideal couple is until you figure that out and you work with who
Yeah.
are not ideal. And if every year your couples, you have more and more, and so your business is a higher percentage of ideal, you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Just you will get it. And so now I'm probably 90% ideal couples. Are there still
Mhm.
a few that probably fooled me a little bit along the way, maybe, but I really, really try
It
to help
happens.
figure that out before they even come into my business, right? So, yes, it is putting that out there, and so my second version of my website, I
Okay.
decided to have 4 words that I was hearing constantly. My couples are looking for a ceremony that is fun, personal, meaningful, and non-traditional, usually non-religious.
Yeah.
And if my couples need to satisfy our mom or grandma, we can do a tinge. But if religion is part of their relationship, I send them to somebody who is the same way. That's not
Yeah.
me. It needs to be
Yeah.
someone who feels that. And so I was hearing those words constantly from my couples and that I felt also described me. So I decided to have that very clearly at the top. So the second version of my website had this little letter from me almost, right? And so if they love those 4 words, they keep reading. If they don't, they're gonna close it, and I am so happy with that. They're not my couple if those
Right.
4 words don't make me happy. And so we decided when I redid my website 6 months before COVID changed our world,
Oh gosh.
um, I leaned in on those 4 words. So now if you go to my website, almost the entire homepage is about those words. So I have the word, I have a picture of a couple that really illustrates that word. I have a little blurb for me about what that word means. And I also have a review snippet from one of my couples that illustrates that word too. If a couple is coming to that and they're nodding as they read that, then they're my couple. And
Yeah.
so I'm already priming them. So then when they inquire, my first email back to them has to reinforce that. You're already setting expectations from what they've seen. My first email has to feel the same voice, has to
Okay.
feel the same vibe, and just reinforce that. And then if that's the case and they're excited about that, then they continue the conversation and we meet and we fall in love with working together. And if it's not,
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm not their person.
Bethel, this is so good. And I hope you guys are listening and you can hear what I heard this summer, right? Where it's like you can just feel the passion and the confidence in what you sell because you're like, I know I sell a really good freaking product and I'm going to be in it with you. Your experience is going to be different. This is what it's going to be like. And If that's not what you want, then I'm just not the right person for you. So, right before this, I was actually on a coaching call with a newer planner, really kind of going through a lot of what you're talking about. She was like, I'm killing it, like the leads are coming in, but I feel like I'm still not sure how to secure that ideal client, right? And I think in the beginning, it can feel scary to be what you said when you were talking, you were like, and if they close out because it doesn't resonate with them, I'm totally
It
okay
is
with that.
scary.
It's very scary
It
in the
is
beginning,
scary.
right? Now you're
Totally.
14 years in, you're like, "Please close the web page if you didn't
Yeah,
resonate,"
totally.
right? But
Totally.
was
And are
there
there couples that are a little less ideal that they
Sure.
still, again, I won't do a religious ceremony,
Okay.
and I want a couple that their relationship is fantastic because then
Yeah.
they wanna celebrate that.
Yeah.
So, do I have couples that I'm like, they won't be my favorites, but they still want what I do,
Yeah.
and I'll still be able to do my thing for them? And, their wedding is in December, January, where cash flow is nicer. Like, will I say yes? Absolutely. I'd be
Sure.
lying if I said I didn't, but I
Yeah.
won't do something that's totally not me. I
Yeah.
won't say yes to a religious ceremony in
Yeah.
December just for cash flow at all. I
Yeah.
won't say yes to a couple that's not going to want to do my homework because they don't care about the ceremony. Well,
Well,
first of all,
that's
why would
the
they
piece I
pay me
wanted to
what I charge? Because
Yes.
they might as well go to someone cheaper who's not going to torture them with homework. So,
Yes,
right?
that's the piece I kinda wanted to dig into a little bit because you create this experience, right? And you charge for that experience. Like, you are not
Yep.
the same price as most of the people in your market because 'cause you're not providing what most of the people in your market are providing,
Nope.
right? So, let's say that a client comes to you in those first couple of years, was it more difficult to turn away those clients who would say, "Well, we don't really need anything personalized. We're good with just you using a ceremony you've used before, and we'll pick a different reading." Like, was it hard to turn that away, or were you always super confident about that?
That is such a good question because that is hard. But yes, I always turn them away.
Okay.
Part of it is, let's be honest, I am working for that couple,
Yeah.
but every ceremony that I deliver, there are other people there
Yes.
judging it, right? Now, it's partially their family and friends. I can get referrals from some of those people. I definitely have siblings or guests who have watched my weddings and go, "Oh, I want that."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I also have every wedding pro who sits and listens to it. Now,
Mhm.
who is there? The DJ is there, any ceremony musician is there, the photographer, the videographer, the amount of time videographers are like, and I'm like, "Oh, nice to meet you." And they're like, "No, we've worked together before. I know your voice and because I've edited your ceremony," right? So, like, they have to listen to me.
Mhm.
Sometimes the planner's there, sometimes not,
Sure.
because they're setting up the other space. But these people all hear the ceremony. They see my couple react to what we're doing. Those people are gonna be my referrals as well. So I don't wanna do something that is inauthentic, not genuine
Yeah.
to me, not only for the sake of the couple, but they deserve otherwise, but also because everybody else is hearing that and they're going to be sending more my way that I don't want more of the wrong people. I want more of the right ones. I have a perfect example though. In my early
Okay.
years,
Okay.
I actually have a robe that one of my couples in my first year asked, "Would you wear a robe for the ceremony?" She had grown up Catholic. Mom would really love a robed person. Now, meanwhile, obviously female. Um, Obviously not a priest. We were outdoors, right? So none of this is like Catholic wedding anyway. But she said my mom would just feel happier if you were in a robe. And I said, fine. I probably didn't make much on that wedding because I had to buy a robe. Um, so okay. I wore
Sure.
that 2 more times. I had 2 other couples that asked for a robe because I also said, "What do you want me to wear?" I have
Yeah.
a suit, robe. So 2 other couples asked. I realized I am not robed clergy. That doesn't fit me, doesn't fit
Yeah.
what I wanna be. So that robe is hanging in my closet, and it has not been worn since, and you will not find a picture of me anywhere on my website, in my social media,
Yeah.
anywhere with a robe on, because that would set the tone for, right? Anything you put out there
Mhm.
is an option.
Yeah.
I'm not robe clergy, I don't wear robe. That was my 1st and 2nd year, I kinda didn't know that yet, and
You
so
didn't know.
so
Yeah.
people who are newer, give yourself a little bit of a break that you said yes to this couple and you just didn't realize learn what those red flags were and how to pay attention to them earlier.
Yes. And I love that you said that, and I just wanna circle back to, like, sometimes I think couples get a bad rap. I don't know why I tend to be always on the couple side or most of the time on the couple side. Like, I think a lot of times we bring it on ourselves, right? Just because a couple is a red flag for you doesn't mean that they're not a good couple, right? It's just not a good couple for you.
Totally.
It doesn't mean that they have to
Totally.
be psychotic and like screaming at you on the
Totally.
phone to be red flags. they just might not be your ideal couple, but they're someone else's most ideal couple. Indian weddings are big in our market. And to be perfectly honest, we just don't do enough of them to understand the culture well. And we do
Totally.
so many weddings that we don't necessarily want to have to go down that rabbit trail, right? Like to have
Right.
so when we get those inquiries, we tell them, we're like, "We would love to refer you to a planner that we think is great, that really focuses on the
Has
culture
the
and
experience.
understands it." Yes, because we don't and every once in a while they'll say, "No, but we really want you, and, you did our friends what," and we'll do it, but we're so clear about, like, "This is not our sweet spot. We don't understand a lot of the ceremonies and the culture, so you're gonna have to walk us through some of that.
Yep.
Logistically, yes, we can handle it." That's what I'm talking about is, like, that would be a red flag to me when they first start talking about, like, the 3-day wedding and things like that, but it doesn't mean it's a red flag for everybody. Doesn't mean it's a bad couple. It just means it's not
Exactly.
my couple. So, Bethel, I wanna ask you too, with social media, how do you control the narrative there? Meaning more like, how do you let people know that your experience is different from your social media perspective? And do you post every single wedding that you do?
I do not, and I should. I am horrible about keeping up on social media. I really am.
I don't
But
think you're
part of
horrible
it
about
is,
it.
well, let's be honest though. If you're listening and you're 2 years into the business, you are in a different situation than me 14 years in the business.
Right.
I don't need to be posting on social media as much because my business has grown and continue to grow. I'm already maxed out. I've
Yeah.
been fully sold out every year for the past few years. While I want to, obviously, we are in an unusual industry, which is that we don't have repeat business. We have to
Yeah.
continually go out and get more business. But I don't need to be marketing it in the same way that somebody who's 2 or 3 years in. So I do not post every wedding. One of the things that I try to do, and I'm not even great about that anymore post COVID, but is that one thing I do is I take what I call my officiant selfie, and it's a hashtag officiant selfie that afterward I take a selfie with my couple and I think that with doing that, because again, I'm so connected with my couple, by
Yeah.
the time we are together on the wedding day, we're hugging each other. Because of how I do my ceremonies, I will have guests ask, we're like, how have we not met you at their parties before? You clearly have been friends for years, right? They assume that we're connected with each other because of what I create with them.
Mhm.
So that selfie and sharing that kind of stuff really also sends that message for me because it's clear my couples are enjoying me. They're right there next to me with big smiles. I also will only share pictures usually that have emotion. I love sharing pictures of
Mm.
the ceremony that have both my couples laughing or both partners choking up. I want people to feel emotion with my pictures.
Yes.
So, yeah, I don't share the design stuff. Do I 3 pictures in on the carousel? Sure. But that first image, I'm not selling beautiful florals. I'm not selling a great table design, right? I'm selling the emotion and connection of that ceremony. And so those have to be there. But no, I completely agree with you. There are certain couples that, yeah, will never be on my social media. I ended up not loving them. When I speak, I say all the time, as a photographer, you can still do that cheesy jumping shot for them or whatever. Doesn't mean it has to be on your stuff,
Right.
right? You can do that because you're satisfying that client. You can use mason jars if they want mason jars, but I'm sure that there's still a picture from the wedding that you could still share that doesn't show a style you never want to do again. Don't put the wrong bait out there or you'll get more of those and you'll be driven crazy.
Oh my gosh. All of what Bethel just said, 2,000%. Like, everything you just said, I fully agree with. I don't post every wedding because every wedding isn't necessarily the type of weddings we wanna continue drawing in, right? And it
Yep.
doesn't mean that the
Yep.
client wasn't ideal. They are a great client. It's just not a venue we might wanna continue working in. It's not a
Yep.
style we wanna do again. And
Yep.
so we're not gonna put that out there to the universe.
There are ways, especially if you're newer or
Yes.
you're struggling to get pictures from photographers. I talk
Yes.
to a lot of wedding pros. Please, photographers who are listening, please, like if you cultivate relationships with the vendors you work with, they will share your work and it will help. Like I'm always sad that photographers just they won't even answer me or won't. And then I don't want to show their work because I don't want to show them off. Because I believe showing a photographer's work is an endorsement of their work. And so
Mhm.
if they're not responding to me, I don't even know if they're taking care of my couple properly.
100%. You also said, Bethel, and I swear I scream this from the rooftops, is the emotion. Like, you are
Yes.
selling an emotion. Now, for you as an officiant and for me as a planner, that's even. 10 times over. Like we don't have a product, so if I put flowers or a beautiful room setup on my Instagram, yes, did I design it? Sure, but I didn't they're not my flowers, they're not my rentals, it's not
Totally.
my ballroom, and I wasn't the photographer, right? So, I
Totally.
want to showcase that my client was able to be fully in the moment, that they were
Oh my.
laughing, they were crying, they were, running through a field somewhere because my team fully handled the details, and I love that you're saying that about what you post is it's like the details really don't matter. Yes, you might put them in a carousel, but what you're selling is that your clients were so emotional during their ceremony, whether that's crying or laughing
Yep.
or whatever.
Like, you would have to understand this industry, people buy with emotion and they justify it with logic afterward. They are
Right.
reacting to emotion first. And so
Yeah.
when you express why you are worth more, if they respond to that, they will find room in their budget for you because they just didn't even know. So they may have set this number in their budget, but they didn't even know like some of this stuff existed or this was an option. And
Yep.
so, yeah, understand that they are buying with emotion and you're not being evil by plucking on that at all. You
No.
are being smart because you're delivering on it. It's not like
That
you will
you're
deliver on that.
delivering
It's
on.
not a false promise.
Right. Yeah, that's when it feels icky, right? Is when it's like, "Oh, I'm gonna sell you this, but I'm not gonna deliver it." One of the things that stuck out to me about when Bethel and I talked this summer was it's not that she's just charging 5 times what the other efficients in her market are charging and then just being like, "Hey," behind the scenes. No, she's creating an experience that is unlike other people in her market. And so she's delivering on what she's selling. And that's what I really want you guys to hear from this episode is that you can charge whatever you want if you deliver on it, but you also have to be able to
Yes.
market that because the
Yes.
worst case scenario is for you to become a commodity and they're like, "Oh, well, I'm just really comparing efficient to efficient." No.
Yep.
I'm comparing a completely different experience from this one that I'm gonna get over here, and I'm gonna buy this one because I was able to understand the emotion that was being sold to me. I was able to understand that experience. So you have to really understand what is it that you're known for and how do you market that, right? Like how do you let people
Yes.
feel that through your marketing? Bethel, I think you
And
kill
one
it
of the
on this.
thank you. Well, one of the most important things you can do, if you all remember nothing else from this podcast, remember that your past couples can sell you better than you could.
Yes.
Why? Because I'm not my ideal couple. I'm married 16 years. I am older. I am not my ideal couple. And so you need to sell from the voice of your past ideal couples.
Mm.
So the most important thing you can do is mine your reviews. Go through your past reviews. I suggest you use two color pens or two color highlighters
Okay.
and you're going to highlight the things that they talk about, what you delivered, the product or service that they officially purchased, whether that's your pictures, your album, the, packed dance floor. But then the other color pen or highlighter is going to be the customer experience stuff. The She was so much fun to work with. She was so prompt in her emails. Her advice was amazing. We felt like we knew her. All these other things that they're going to say about you that is not officially what they purchased from you, but it's
Yeah.
that experience with you. Those things both are important to include. And you want to have review snippets. When I mean snippets, I'm not saying the whole 3 paragraphs. Those are great, but leave them on Google, leave them on the Knot. Like,
Yeah.
that's fine. You want to find those 2 lines and you want to have them everywhere in your website because my couple saying Bethel is more expensive than most, but she's worth every penny next to my price is better than me saying I'm worth every penny, right? Because
Yes.
it's not up to me to determine if I'm worth every
Right.
penny. It's my couples to determine am I worth every penny. And so using their words to express what it is that you do for them, that's what allows you to charge more. That's what
Priceless.
allows you to get the
Yeah.
right people because
Mhm.
you are absolutely fishing with the right bait.
Bethel, this is so good. It's everything that I got from you this summer. I just love it so much. I know that our listeners are feeling inspired and excited to now really look at their own offerings and say, like, what am I known for? And what experience do I deliver? And no matter
What makes me
what,
different?
yes, no matter what you are, even if you actually deliver a product like a florist, you
Right.
still are selling an experience. Like, what is that experience of working with you
Totally.
in addition to your product?
This is also just as important if you are less expensive. You could build your business on less expensive, higher volume, and that's great. Design the customer experience that
Yes.
fits that. Because, first of all, you shouldn't spend more time if you're not getting paid for it. So be sure that your business is more systematized and automated and really doing that, but then sell that properly so that people understand. Because if you are trying to do a volume business for less, you need your systems and your selling to be very, very quick. You're not making enough to do it
Mhm.
any other way. So just make sure that you truly are fishing with the right bait either way. That way, the right people are coming to you and they're purchasing, and the purchase experience is then easier.
I'm actually really glad that you brought that up, Bethel. I have students that are like, I really just want to do day of coordination. Like that's what I want to do and
Totally.
that's what I want to be known for. And I'm like, that's amazing.
Focus
But
on budget weddings. I can
yes,
make a budget couple's day better.
yes,
Cool.
and I can make it
Then express
flawless,
that properly.
but it has to match the time investment that you're putting into it. And that
Well,
I love that you said that because it's like, that's great. There's tons of couples out there that need that. But
yep,
you have to make sure that you're investing the right amount of time and that you're super systematized and that you're not
yep,
over delivering because you're just going to get burnt out, right? You can
right.
totally run on quantity. So I love that you brought that up. Thank you for doing that. Okay, where can everybody go find you?
So as an officiant, you can find me at ceremoniesbybethel.com.
Mhm.
Facebook is still Ceremonies by Bethel. On Instagram, it's actually my first and last name at Bethel Nathan. That's me as an officiant and probably more as a human. As a business coach and speaker and educator, that's under the brand Elevate by Bethel.
Okay.
So elevatebybethel.com and on Instagram and Facebook as well that way. And I also recently launched an online program for officiants, the business of officiating. And so it is all of the business stuff specifically meant for officiants. Will other categories benefit? Of course, it's all the
Sure.
business stuff. I do a Facebook Live the first and third Tuesdays of every month at
Okay.
noon Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern on my Elevate by Bethel page. So I do an hour of advice and whatever people are thinking about, people of all categories come hang out with me. I am definitely
Yeah.
a systems person and work a lot with people on systematizing their business. So I geek out on that stuff.
Make sure you pop into one of her Instagrams and say, "Hey, Bethel, I heard you on the Wedding Pro CEO podcast. Tell her something that you loved about the show." All right, Bethel, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. This was great.
Thanks for having me.